Hello, I may be several days late and several dollars short, but I'm finally getting around to looking over the Leviathan kit and the kit for Taron Malicos. We'll deal with the Leviathan first real quick because we have no animations for it yet, unfortunately, but we have a breakdown of every single one of its abilities and its crew unique for Darth Revan. So, to repeat for this video, the Leviathan drops on July the 19th. You need to have all of these relics. You need to have all of the ships 7-starred. And anyways, moving on. And another thing, before we get too far into it, let me pull up this one. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Currently at 263 subs, which is amazing. Thank you guys. And like I said in one of my earlier videos from, I don't remember, earlier this week or last week, trying to hit 500, and we are just over halfway there now, so let's keep chugging along. Now back to the actual fun bit. So, the Leviathan's kit. Its basic is Apocalyptic Fusillade. It deals special damage to target enemy and inflicts shock on them for 2 turns. Then all Sith allies gain 1 stack ferocity for 2 turns. If the target enemy was already shocked, it's inflicted with doubt for 2 turns. Oh, it says it's not inflicted. The Leviathan inflicts doubt for 2 turns on 2 random enemies who don't have it. If Siege Bridge has been used in this encounter, dispel all buffs on target enemy and inflict fear for 1 turn, which cannot be dispelled or resisted. And Siege Bridge is its 3rd special, which cannot be used until after the other 2 specials are done, or used to sabotage the hangars and sabotage the engines. So, moving on. Sabotage the hangars requires you to inflict 15 debuffs, and it can only be used one time. So the text is, it's limited to 1 use per battle. Sith allies gain crit hit immunity and 5 stacks ferocity for 2 turns, and the target ally recovers 40% health. You increase the cooldown of call reinforcement by 1 on enemy capital ship if they're light side, so dark side capital ships will not be affected by it. And you inflict capital ship sabotage on all enemies until the end of the encounter, next enemy reinforcement, or until Siege Bridge is used, which is the 3rd special, which we'll get to shortly. Capital ship sabotage states the next ally ship called to reinforce is immediately destroyed upon deployment. Now this isn't your allied ship, this is the enemy's, because you're inflicting capital ship sabotage on all enemies. So the next time they call in a reinforcement, it immediately doesn't exist, and they have to wait an extra turn anyways because they can't call in reinforcements because it's increased by 1. This ability cannot be used unless other allied Sith ships have inflicted 15 debuffs. That is the big prerequisite for this. So the shock, doubt, and fear from the basic on the Leviathan will help, but then you'll have to rely heavily on the rest of the fleet to pick up the slack on the debuffs. 2nd special is Sabotage the Engines. It can only be used once per battle. It reduces the enemy capital ship's speed by 30% for the rest of the encounter and removes 30% TM, which cannot be resisted. Sith allies gain crit hit immunity and 5 stack ferocity for 2 turns, and the target Sith ally gains breach immunity for 3 turns. This breach immunity is a way to stop the Executor from getting its contract off quicker, because it's not for all Sith allies, it's a target Sith ally. So it looks like it can be dispelled because it doesn't say it can't be, so there might be one way around to getting a regular breach immunity. Special number 3 is Seize the Bridge, which can only be used after you use the first 2 specials, Sabotage the Hangars and Sabotage the Engines. And you can only use it one time, and it has a 5-turn cooldown. So, final text says limited use once per battle. Take control of the enemy capital ship, reset its cooldowns, and grants it a bonus turn. While controlled, you cannot call reinforcement, and the cooldown of the ultimate ability is set to max at the start of each turn, which is pretty useful, especially if you're fighting against the Profundity, the Executor, the Resistance, which I really don't think you should be going against this Resistance, because that's this is a big fleet that you're going to be wasting on the Resistance. Anyways, your allies recover 50% health and have their cooldowns reset, and all enemies are inflicted with fear for a turn, which cannot be evaded, dispelled, or resisted. This ability starts on cooldown because, you can't really use it until Sabotage the Hangers and Sabotage the Engines has been used. And the first time, Sith allies are inflicted with 50 debuffs, reduce the cooldown by 1. Now the problem might be is how often you get inflicted with debuffs, and you know that might, I mean, this will help increase the rate you can use it, but you really need to get Sabotage the Hangers off first and then Sabotage the Engines, and then you can use Seize the Bridge. So it's more of a waiting game of how quickly you can get 15 debuffs off, and then you know, speed on everything else. And also it says this ability cannot be used unless Destroy the Engines and Sabotage the Hangers was used in the same encounter. I don't know why it says Destroy the Engines whenever it says Sabotage the Engines. Which one is it? Anyways, the crew ability for Darth Revan, Wrath of the Sith. Sith allies gain 15% max health. Sith ships gain crit hit immunity for 1 turn, 1 stack ferocity, and 1 stack if we have returned for 2 turns, and Sith Empire ships gain an additional stack if we have returned. So, you know, Maul and really just Maul, wouldn't it? Oh, Palpatine as well would only get 1 stack if we have returned, but then everyone else like Malgus, Marauder, Sith Assassin, and the Sith Empire Trooper ships will get 2 stacks if we have returned. And whenever an enemy is summoned, you reduce their max health by 50% until the end of the encounter. That's pretty big because that's a great way of dealing, you know, making them basically half as effective as normally would be. And then the enemies attacking that turn deal 50% less crit damage to Sith attacker allies. Don't know how much it's going to really do to slow down. I need to look at the fleet before I can really say how much that's going to change things, because if most of the ships for the Sith fleet are attackers, that'll make a world of a difference. However, let's see. The bomber is a tank, the shuttle is a support, the Fury class is a support. The attacker, okay, so there are a couple of attackers, and they are Vader, the TIE Dagger, the the Sith Fighter, and the Mark 6 Interceptor. So taking less damage on the TIE Dagger is good. You know, that would be nice. Help you keep it alive a little longer. But anyways, whenever an enemy debuff expires, a random Sith ally gains a stack of ferocity for 2 turns. The Mark 6 Interceptor gains an additional 10 stacks of Devouring Swarm when it starts its first turn after it's deployed. So, if I'm remembering correctly, the Mark 6 anyways, whenever it reinforces, let me make sure of this real quick. Oh wow. Okay, so on top of the 10 you get whenever you use the reinforcement for the Mark 6 Interceptor, you'll be getting 30 stacks of Devouring Swarm instead for each other ally reinforced ship, instead of 5 stacks. So that is a lot of stacks of Devouring Swarm, because if you do this as one of the last ships, or even like your second ship, that's 40 stacks, which gives you enough to use the instant defeat on its basic. So pretty nice. And moving on, whenever enemy reinforcements, you inflict daze on all enemies for a turn. It doesn't say it can't be resisted, but I would imagine it. I imagine it can be, but I also don't know if it's unresistible because it doesn't state. Sith ships are immune to max health reduction, which immediately negates the losing 50% max health. So that'll make mirrors of this fight very probably easier, because you won't have to worry about losing 50% of your Sith ships max health whenever you reinforcement. So, reinforcement bonus. Reinforced Sith ships attacks cannot be evaded. They gain 5 stacks of ferocity, and they can ignore taunt effects till the end of the turn and stun the target enemy for 1 turn, which cannot be resisted when deployed. So that's pretty good. I mean, you can stun whoever you're targeting as soon as you load in with your reinforcement. You're gaining stacks of ferocity, and you're gaining all sorts of other fun stuff. So I would say that's pretty worthwhile to, you know, do. I mean, the problem is ferocity, you're going to be losing defense, 15% defense and tenacity, but you're getting 8% offense and potency per stack. So, you know, you gotta take the punches there with it. So, but overall, this is an interesting kit. Like I said, debuffs will help supplement how quickly you can get your first special off. And then Sabotage the Engines looks like it can be used immediately, which might be the play to make your opponent slower, and then just start punching away at them with debuffs so you can get sabotaged at hangars, and then you seize the bridge and then keep spiraling out of control from there. But I guess we'll have to wait and see until the 19th whenever it drops, so I can get a full grasp on its kit and animations and all that, because obviously they didn't give us the animations, probably because they're not done yet. Moving right along. So we have Taron Malicos, who's going to be the next Conquest character starting on Monday the 10th, whenever Conquest comes back. He has 2 tags, Attacker and Unaligned Force User, which is like, I understand why, but at the same time you could have given him some other stuff. I think it also mentions it in here why he doesn't have any other tags besides the 2. I don't think he technically is a Night Brother, but he had Night Brothers under his control, so that makes sense, you know it. So they mentioned Malicos is an option for Lord Vader's squad if you'd like to use them all elsewhere, but his main target home is going to be CERE's Unaligned Force User squad, which will really help it punch up. Why? That's my biggest issue with Malicos already. Okay, I'm happy with Malicos coming out, don't get me wrong. My problem is why is a team that people don't have fully worked on yet already getting a Conquest lifter this quickly? Like, please tell me why, CG. That is my biggest complaint with Taron. Other than that, I'm liking this kit, but it is a doozy of a kit, so let's just dive in. His basic is Dark Strike. He deals physical damage to the target enemy. He gains 2 stacks of Edge of Madness, which maxes out at 100, until the enemy counter, which cannot be copied, dispelled, or prevented. Also, this attack cannot be countered, so pretty neat. So Edge of Madness gives him minus 2% defense per stack. I feel like you're gonna have to do, I don't know what the best way to mod him will be, but with the losing stacks of defense from Edge of Madness, and then lose stacks of tenacity from another one of his debuffs he has whenever Edge of Madness is used up. What I'm saying is I have no idea how you're gonna mod him. It's gonna be more of a wait and see until we get him in September. So first special is Vile Thrash. It's 3 cooldown move with a Zeta, no Ami yet. He does physical damage to the target enemy. He gains Rip Save for 2 turns. This attack has 30% defense pin, quadrupled if all allies are Dark Side or Light Side Unaligned Force users. So immediately, as soon as you put him in a CERE team, that's 120% defense pin right there. That is ridiculous. Now I know they said you can throw him in a Vader team, but that'll only be 30% boost, but that's still a lot of, that's still a nice chunk of defense pin. Not a whole lot, but it's still a good chunk. So if he has 20 stacks of Edge of Madness, he takes a bonus turn. For every 20 stacks of Edge of Madness he has, he dispels them, and he gains Stack of Madness Manifested, which is another one of his debuffs that he has. So whenever he gains Stack of Madness Manifested, next time he uses Die Whelp, which is his next special, is defeated or until the enemy encounter, it cannot be copied, dispelled, or prevented, and if the ally in the leader slot is a Dark Side or Light Side Unaligned Force user, the cooldown of Die Whelp is reset. And as we can see at the bottom right here, Die Whelp is a 6 cooldown move, so that's going to be extremely beneficial to get his cooldown reset on it. So Madness Manifested is this other debuff, I guess you want to call it. He has 40% tenacity per stack, which is a bit of a problem because I don't know how much base tenacity he's going to have, but okay, the next time this character uses Die Whelp, which is his other special, it deals 50% more physical damage per stack, which is per stack of Madness Manifested. It reduces the current max health of the target enemy by 15% for the rest of the battle, stacking. So the more times you use it, the more max health they're losing, and the easier it will be to kill them. This excludes raid bosses and GLs, of course. It cannot be resisted, and removes all stacks of Madness Manifested. So looks like the best way to get the best bang for your buck for using Madness, like having the Madness Manifested debuff on you and then using Die Whelp, will be to get like 5 or 6 stacks of it then throw and use Die Whelp and reduce your opponent's that target's max health by 75, and then 6 would be 90%. So moving on, the second special, Die Whelp, is a 6 turn cooldown ability with an Omicron. Get a drink real quick. Okay, so it has not a lot, but it has a chunk of stuff here. It deals physical damage and inflicts vulnerable to all enemies and stuns the target enemy for 1 turn. If the target has defense down, this stun cannot be resisted. Okay. If the target enemy is in the leader's slot, you increase their cooldowns by 1, which cannot be resisted. So even if you use this against a GL, you'll be able to increase their cooldowns by 1, which will be extremely beneficial. While in Grand Arena, you deal additional true damage to all enemies, and you inflict buff immunity and healing immunity for 2 turns on the target enemy, which cannot be resisted. So it's basically like a light version of the Starkiller buff immunity and healing immunity, but it's for 2 turns, and as opposed to being unavoidable, undispellable, and all that with Starkiller. Also, if the ally in the leader slot is a dark side or light side unaligned force user, Malicos gains 20% crit damage stacking and offense stacking until the end of battle. So each time you use this, he's going to be getting 20% more crit damage and 20% more offense, and depending on what his base offense is, that may mean he starts hitting like a truck rapidly, depending on how often you use this with, Vile Thrash as well, because it's a lot. Alright, so his first unique, he has 2. Both of them are Omnis. So his first one, Echo the Fallen Order, which is Zeta and Omni. All allies have 30% crit chance. If all allies were unaligned force users at the start of battle. There's more to this. While Malicos has at least 1 stack of Edge of Madness, whenever he scores a crit hit, all of the allies gain 5% crit damage and offense, stacking until the end of the encounter. So it's a great way of boosting up Ahsoka Fulcrum's damage, or Cal, CERE, and then whoever else your 5th is in the team. So, or like Stick, the original Ray, Stick Ray. And then whenever an ally is inflicted with healing immunity, they dispel and gain damage immunity for a turn. I don't know why damage immunity and the immunity and healing immunity is not capitalized, but whatever. Whenever they are inflicted with stun, they dispel and recover 30% health and protection. This is for the allies, so that's a great way of keeping your allies topped off on health and protection, which is going to be rather annoying. So, while in Grand Arena, enemies defeated by allies cannot be revived. This effect persists if Malicos is defeated. So, this right here sets up CERE, Cal, and Malicos for being the best combo in 3v3 for the CERE team. Because if you only kill Malicos on the team, then even if he's dead, and from my understanding of it, it means even if he's dead, I don't know if it means like if you fail to fight, you have to like it persists into the next fight. But the way this is worded, it says if he's dead, this effect still persists if he's defeated. Let me see if it was actually answered up here. Why doesn't? Oh, this is where the Night Sisters and Sith thing was. The inspiration we're using of Taron Malicos is his Jedi Fallen Order bench, assuming himself as a former Jedi and seeking power. He does not work with Marin as the ally, is quick to turn against Cal. In our game's terms, he presents as a Force user, shares no alignment with Sith or Jedi, which therefore means he's an unaligned Force user. Whatever. Don't like it, don't care. Anyways, let's see. Okay, so for the Force, the Echo of the Fallen Order unique with the Omni, does this effect persist if Malicos is defeated apply to everything, or only the revive prevention? This is only a revive prevention mechanic. The rest of the unique relies on Malicos being alive, also referred to as active. So maybe it won't mean it persists after the fight is over if you fail, but while the fight is on, all of this right here will mean anyone that's killed by his allies won't be able to be revived, which is a bit of a problematic thing to be running into. So the rest of Echo the Fallen Order, first time a dark side or light side unaligned Force user would be reduced to 1% health. If Malicos is alive, they recover 100% health protection, gain damage immunity for a turn, and they take a bonus turn, while also gaining crit chance up, crit damage up, and offense up for 2 turns. So basically, he has a Revan and JMK savior mechanic rolled into a damage immunity plus crit damage up and offense up. It's a bit of a mouthful, and honestly, that's kind of like no thank you. That's a lot, but I like it. Don't like it, but whatever. While Malicos is alive, whenever enemies with less than 100% TM gains bonus TM, he gains a stack of Edge of Madness, and that enemy takes true damage, which cannot be evaded, limited once per turn. This damage cannot defeat enemies. I'm not really fully understanding. I feel like this is a way to stop like Imperial Trooper teams, which can't really work against CERE to begin with in the first place unless they're future-proofing against a different team or just future-proofing as a whole. I'm not really sure. But okay, moving on to his final special, which is Strength and Power, another Zeta and Ami. So, Malicos' attacks cannot be evaded, enemies defeated by him cannot be revived, and he has 75% counter chance and 100% health steal. And at the start of the battle, he gains 25% offense for each other dark side or light side unaligned force user. So in a CERE team full of these characters, even if it's just only light side unaligned, that is an additional 100% offense. Unless he's including himself, which would be 125. That is a lot. This dude's gonna be hitting like a truck. If the ally in the leader slot is a light side or dark side unaligned force user, Malicos can ignore taunt. So basically another way of getting through like JMKs or pre-taunters or easily. While he is debuffed, he also gains an additional 50% health steal. We're not even to the Ami yet. This is getting a little bit out of hand. So he has 150% health steal and 75% counter chance. He's going to be keeping himself topped up. Okay, well, it's only 150% while he's debuffed, which is basically all the time because of the Edge of Madness and Madness manifested debuffs. So anyways, whenever he uses an ability during his turn, if he has accuracy up or defense up, he immediately uses Dark Strike, which is his basic. Whenever he attacks at a turn, he gains 10% crit damage stacking for 3 turns, and whenever he's inflicted with Daze, he dispels it and reduces his cooldowns by 1, so that'll be another way for him to use Die Whelp rapidly, or to use Vile Thrash as well. Because, you know, Vile Thrash will be also doing other things for him, giving Madness Manifested and cycling through that and all that. The reason why it says whenever he attacks at a turn is because at the very bottom here, we'll get to that. Okay, we'll go ahead and get to it now. In the Ami, it says, it's below the Ami, but CG, as of late, has been putting stuff that aren't in the Ami below the Ami, so I don't know if it's supposed to be part of it or not. Maybe it'll be answered in the FAQ for him. We'll see. So, the reason why I said whenever he attacks at a turn, he's getting the crit damage for 3 turns is because whenever another unaligned force user uses special ability, he assists. So, every time Fulcrum does her 2 specials, he'll be assisting. And with the amount of base damage, I don't know how much base damage you have, but with the amount of boosted offense you'll have, that'll be very painful if your character doesn't die from Fulcrum doing her second special as it is anyways. And okay, back to before the Ami, whenever an enemy dispels a debuff Malicos inflicted from one of his abilities, he gains a stack of an Edge of Madness until the end of the encounter. So another way of him to get Edge of Madness constantly. So, while in Grand Arenas, at the start of the battle, he gains a stack of Edge of Madness until the end of the encounter, and all unaligned force users gain crit hit immunity for 2 turns, which cannot be dispelled. He also has 100% max health and 50% mastery. Now, depending on what his mastery is boosting, that's a chunk of mastery boost. That is ridiculously good. Whenever he uses the ability during his turn, he immediately uses Dark Strike, and whenever he attacks at a turn, he's gained protection up 20% stacking for a turn. So, depending on how fast you have him going, which probably not very, with it being a CERE team, the fact that, you know, so he's going to use one of his specials, right? If he didn't do his basic, he's going to be basically using another Dark Strike. As soon as, like, he does a basic, he does Dark Strike again. He does Die Whelp or Vile Thrash, it looks like he'll be using Dark Strike again. And whenever he attacks at a turn, he's getting protection up. And, you know, he's getting crit damage stacking, so it's a lot for him to be having going. The thing we'll have to see is his, like, actually, before I say that, I can look up his base stats because his stuff is in the game already. Let's see, unit stats. Let's see, Taron Malicos. Let's see here. Give me 1 second while I pull it up because I kind of need to know while I'm in this video. Okay, so, oh, that's not what I wanted. So, Taron Malicos, he has a base, he has base 68,231 health, a base of 68,219 protection, 140 speed. He has 40, okay, this is all at R9, so, you know, it'll be lower at Relic 7. He has 48% potency, 38% tenacity, 55% health steal, wow. And it looks like at Relic 9, his physical damage is at 7,799, special is at 6,506. But most of his attacks are, no, all of his attacks are physical damage, so special damage doesn't really matter per se, but the physical damage, because of how much he gains from, you know, having a full team of unaligned force users and everything else. Yeah, but yeah, that's you know, I just wanted to make a video covering both of these at once instead of 2 separate ones, mostly because I'm several days late and several dollars short on getting it recorded and all that. But yeah, if y'all enjoyed, don't forget to hit like and hit subscribe, and thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later on. I hope you have a good day.